entertaining season and lose at the grand final. But yeah, the jury's out. What's next, Sarah?
So next up, England international Callum Watkins has joined Toronto Wolfpack in massive, nobody saw that coming. The former Leeds centre was released by NRL side Gold Coast Titans in April for personal reasons after his father contracted coronavirus. Watkins, who's 29, has signed a 3-year deal. And in another shocking revelation, Tom Andrews has commented. And he says, no shocks here. What is missing from the article is Wolfpack have clearly signed Warrington's accountant on loan until the end of the 2020 season. On his day, a great player, but are his best years behind him? 3-year deal is very bold too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to call it now that he won't play all those 3 years at Toronto. He won't still be a Toronto player at the end of that contract.
Do we still think... Do we like arguably his best years are behind him, but do we still think Callum Watkins does have a really, strong case to be a top draw international level centre?
I think yes, he could. He's got the potential. I think 29's not that old. I think even 3 years is. You could see him playing very well for those 3 years, but. Is he going to play that well at Toronto? As in, the team around him.
I suppose he's under his former coach, isn't he? Maybe that plays in their favour, that he knows how the culture he wants to set, the style he wants to play. I think he was captain, wasn't he? But that was at the bad time of McDermott's reign.
Yeah.
That was for the end of things, for both of them at Leeds. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean... Other than the odd flash, he hasn't shown to me that he's come back from that very serious injury. He played sporadically in Leeds, played a little bit in the second row, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Then kind of, went to Titans, didn't play, played a little bit in pre-season, didn't, got a couple of games, but, didn't, there's been a long time, there's been over a year where he hasn't really played very much. And certainly not where he'd want him to play in the centre. So, again, not particularly positive about this one, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think he was good enough to be an NRL starting centre this year, and I think he's good enough to be a really good centre in Super League, without a doubt. I do, like Sarah sort of says, is Toronto the right place because they're a bottom end of the table club, and is that going to suit Callum Watkins, who, when we all sort of think of Callum Watkins as imposing best, it's in a good side that's on the front foot, not in a slightly weaker side that maybe doesn't have a great pack or great leadership around him and that sort of stuff. But
yeah, because
the injury stole his best years from him, in my view. He was coming into his absolute best, that 2017 World Cup, and he started that season as kind of the only player in 2018 that really Leeds could lean on. I sort of felt at that time, and then the injury came at Magic Weekend, didn't it, that year against Cass, and they fell away to a horrific defeat in that game, and it just never quite came around since for Callum or for Leeds. And so I feel like he was it's the pre-injury Callum Watkins was the best Callum Watkins. And if he's now recovered from that at 29 years old, he's not too old, he can still be a great force. It's just, is it the right... Maybe, like if Tim says he's not going to be there for 3 years, maybe he does get to be at a top club in Super League, or Toronto become a top club in Super League within that 3 years, who knows. But, yeah. I'm more optimistic about this one working out well for everyone than the Greg Inglis one, personally.
Let's hope so. So moving on, Hull FC winger Ratu Naulango will switch codes at the end of the Super League season, whenever that is, to join Premiership Rugby Union side, the Bristol Bears. And again, Tom has been in touch and says, no Ratu, it's meant to be women and children first off the sinking ship, more to follow, still space on the HMS Radford lifeboat.
Shots fired, Sarah. How do you feel about this one?
It was inevitable, really. I think from what has been said, the Army was putting quite a lot of pressure on him to go back to rugby union. And it, the international game is a lot bigger there, isn't it? And I think there was a lot of negotiations had to go on for us to get him for the year that we had him. Well, 2 years. We'll miss him, but we've, in a sense...
Does it explain why you've got so many wingers in the squad when you kind of say there was an inevitability to Ratu's departure?
I think the number of excessive wingers was due to Fanua coming up, and that was very much an emotive signing. I think we thought with Farema, Swift and Ratu, that's three wingers, which covers you quite nicely. But then when Fanua became available and contacted the club, I think we decided there was a lot of pressure, well, a lot of...
heartstrings being pulled, kind of.
Yeah,
fans' favourite.
Maybe you could re-sign Matty Dawson-Jones.
Yeah, he
has got a fantastic try-scoring record for Hull FC.
He has.
But how will Ratu be remembered? I guess because he's left after a short spell. It's not like he's put down a long legacy there. But how will he be remembered?
It's long range tries. That one away at Catalans where he picked the ball up in the in-goal area and ran the entire length of the field and scored at the other end.
It's going to be thought of fondly, isn't he, for that sort of those powerful moments like that. Finding his feet in the sport, yet still being so... At least he did enough in games to counteract the finding his feet nature, didn't he?
Yeah, obviously this season we haven't had many games, but especially last season when he first came into the team, nobody knew what to expect. And yes, he would make mistakes, but his unpredictability and the fact that teams didn't know what to expect from him meant that he did win us a lot of points. Him and Kelly and Connor, linked up really nicely actually with the offloads and supporting one another and things like that. So he will definitely be missed. He was a great player, but to be honest, we thought he was going to go at the end of last season. It was a bonus that he stayed. It's just a shame that we might not get another season from him, depending on what happens.
Well, that's it, because you'd have to think he's going when his contract's up on the 30th of November, rather than when the season ends, when that might be.
I don't know what... they are a Premiership team. Bristol Bears isn't one that I've particularly ever heard of.
No,
Tim, do you have any more context around where Bristol sort of sit in the scheme?
Yeah, they're in lower reaches, so they've got quite a lot of money behind them because they did this rebrand. They were just Bristol. They rebranded probably about 2 or 3 years ago to be the Bristol Bears. They put a lot of money into the branding. They've signed some big players, and I think they've got Pat Lam as their coach, or he certainly was involved.
Yes, Pat Lam is involved. Yeah, I remember reading that in one of the news stories about Nilago going.
Yeah. So and so they've put in a lot of money. They've signed quite a few big players. Because they're bankrolled by the guy who owns Hargreaves Lansdowne, Stephen Lansdowne. So they've had that money behind them. So they're in that. They're trying to be like Exeter in the terms of trying to establish themselves into breaking into that top model, but they're probably in the sort of mid-table lower mid-table at the moment.
Fair enough. Well, good luck to him because he seems like a good bloke, doesn't he?
Yeah, we stood and had a chat with him at the fans day. He was, really happy to chat to Joshua and things like that. So that, he's become a fan's favourite very quickly.
Definitely.
And we know he can run away quickly, so if he did want to...
Salford Red Devils captain Lee Mossop has signed a 2-year contract extension with the Super League club. I think that's a sensible deal all round there, so that works out well for everyone.
Yeah.
And also, I suppose, shall I do the other?
Yeah.
Salford one. Luke Yates has signed a new 2-year contract extension as well, so that's kind of doubling up there on locking down their pack in Salford.
Now this is the news I wanted. Former Leeds player Eddie Rombo has been made the first head coach of Kenya's National Rugby League side. Rombo played on the wing for Leeds in the 1990s and was the first Kenyan to play rugby league when he signed at Headingley and went on to play for both Dewsbury and Featherstone.
I don't remember Eddie Rombo, but it's...
I only know him from another media outlet and a legend who is not exactly kind around his skill set. Let's say that much.
No, but obviously he must have learned plenty of things being involved in those mediocre Leeds sides that didn't win any trophies in the early 90s, and from said legends. And it's a I guess he's a national rugby league hero if they have any in Kenya. So that's the way to go, isn't it?
Name another Kenyan rugby league player.
Exactly.
Is Massey from Kenya?
No,
he's
from the
he's
Democratic
from
Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
Is that just because it rhymes, though?
Someone was from Zimbabwe, weren't they?
That's where he's from. He's from Zimbabwe. I thought it was wrong, but yeah.
Fair enough. Anyone anything else on Eddie Rombo?
No, nothing else to say.
But it's good, isn't it, that he's a Kenyan coach in Kenya?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly going to put a lot of love and enthusiasm into that. And to be honest, we take the mick a bit and stuff, but he has got coaching experience in coaching setups in both codes of the game. So he has earned his stripes a little bit.
Yep.
What's next, Sarah?
Me?
Oh,
yes.
Alan. Sorry.
Tim.
Tim did Eddie Rombo.
Yeah.
It is my turn. Yeah, sorry.
It's your turn. Yeah.
St Helens women have signed Amy Hardcastle from Bradford Bulls. The 31-year-old centre or winger has scored 14 tries in 17 games for England since making her international debut in 2009. She's represented her country at both the 2013 and 2017 World Cups and was also recently named in the Team of the Decade selected by the NRL, and she was the only English player to be recognised. So, yeah, good signing for St Helens then.
To me, she's always going to be remembered for that amazing try she scored in the was it the 2017 World Cup? It was, wasn't it?
2017 World Cup,
against Australia. But maybe that's what swung the vote the way that way. She is quite well respected in Australia, I believe. And the only other thing I know about Amy Hardcastle is we sat next to her boyfriend at the women's grand final last year.
AJ Boardman, who plays for Hunslet.
Oh right, this guy didn't like a rugby player. But
scandal going on here.
Hang on a minute, we better stop there before we go digging any more holes. Yeah. So,
Al, any view on that? It's kind of like further dissembling of that Bradford side after kind of some of the other leading players went. Kirsty Maroney left the coaching setup as well, didn't she, earlier this year?
Yeah, I mean, she's probably she's certainly the best. Certainly the most recognisable name from the team that won in 2017, and the kind of, I suppose, the continual transition of that team is kind of complete now that most of the big names from that team have now moved on. But yeah, I can understand. She's still got plenty to give, so I can understand why Saints have signed her completely.
And of course, one of our sort of NHS heroes that we go out and clap for on a Thursday night. So. There you go.
Absolutely. So, England women's head coach Craig Richards has selected a 29-player women's performance squad alongside a 10-player England women's nights performance squad. So the women's performance squad is Danielle Anderson, Caitlin Beavers, Abigail Eatock, Natasha Gaines, Fran Goldthorpe, Amy Johnson, Chloe Kerrigan and Shannon Lacey, all from the Leeds Rhinos.